So good afternoon and welcome back. Now that you are familiar with the light list, let's take a look at another nautical publication called the Coast Pilot. The Coast Pilot, very useful resource aboard your vessel. It gives you geographical descriptions of places within the area that it covers. So this Coast Pilot number 2, it covers the Atlantic coast between Cape Cod, Massachusetts, down to Sandy Hook, New Jersey. So if you wanted to know anything about that geographical location, like descriptions, anchorage areas, places to get fuel, regulatory information about that geographical place, you could certainly find those types or that type of information here in the Coast Pilot. So just like the light list, in the back of the Coast Pilot is an index, and again, it's alphabetical. So if you turn to the index, you'll see that everything here has 2 numbers, okay? So right next to, I'm just picking one up randomly, I have Flanders. So Flanders, there's a number 12358, okay? And then it gives me a page number. All right, that first number, 12358, would be the best chart of that particular place. So if I wanted the best or most detailed chart of Flanders, I don't know where that is, but it's somewhere in this area, okay? The best chart would be chart number 12358, and I can find information about Flanders on page 146 in the Coast Pilot. So that's kind of how we use it. Now let's take a look and see if we can answer a few questions. So it says, what is the least found depth on the east end of Latimer Reef? Well, Latimer Reef up here on the chart, you may be familiar with, or you may not be familiar with, but it's up here in the blue sounding area on the chart. And if you notice, there are no actual soundings on our chart in that area. So we wouldn't find that information by looking at the chart, but we could probably find that in the description of Latimer Reef. So if I turn to the description of Latimer Reef, which is again listed alphabetically, so I go to the L's and I look for Latimer Reef Latimer Reef, okay, and Latimer Reef, L-A-T, Latimer Reef, okay, I find that the chart number, okay, is 13214, and I can find that information on page 148. So I'm going to turn back to page 148 in the Coast Pilot, okay, and I'm going to look for the description of Latimer Reef, okay. So here's page 148 in the Coast Pilot, okay, and if I scan around the page, I'm going to find that Latimer Reef is over here in paragraph 259. It says Latimer Reef, about 0.6 of a mile south of Noy Shoal, is a very broken and rocky area, 0.4 of a mile long. It's marked by a light at its west end and a buoy at its east end. The eastern end of the reef has a least found depth of 6 feet. So there's the answer to the question. It says, what is the least found depth on the east end of Latimer Reef? So the answer would be 6 feet. So again, I found a description of Latimer Reef because it's a geographical place. It's described in the Coast Pilot. So let's take a look at the next one. It says, what is the danger of anchoring within 300 yards of the ruins? So I'm going to look for a description of the ruins. Now, it wouldn't be under the ruins. It would probably just be under ruins, R-U-I-N-S. All right. I'm going to find that in the book. So ruins, R-U-I-N-S. Here it is. Okay. 13209. So again, I just looked it up alphabetically in the back of the Coast Pilot Index. Okay. And I look for page 141 to find the description. So now I turn back to page 141. Okay, and I start scanning the page till I see the ruins. And here it is, paragraph 119. It says, the ruins, a concrete structure on Gardner's Point, is government property and formerly a naval aircraft bombing target. It is prohibited to the public. The ruins and the area within 300 yards of its dangerous of it is dangerous due to possible existing undetonated explosives. So it's prohibited to the public because of undetonated explosives. So it says, what is the danger of anchoring within 300 yards of the ruins? My choice is, okay, B would be the correct answer, explosives. So now we look at the next question. It says, what surrounds Valiant Rock? So again, Valiant Rock is a geographical place. So I'm going to look for a description in the back of the index, or I'm going to look for the place in the index. Okay, so Valiant Rock. Okay, Valiant Rock, here it is. Chart number 13212 on page 140. So I'm going to turn back to page 140. Okay, 140. Alrighty, and I'm going to look for a description of a place called Valiant Rock. So I scan through the page, and here it is, page 80 or paragraph 89. It says Valiant Rock, with a least found depth of 19 feet, okay, is surrounded by a shoal area and a 10-fathom curve surrounding the rock, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what surrounds it? A shoal area. There it is. Okay, what sounds Valiant Rock? Next question says, what type of buoy marks the northern limit of Shaggy Wan Reef? So let's take a look and see if we can't find the answer to that question. So again, I'm in the index. I'm looking for Shaggy Wan Reef. Okay, S-H, Shaggy Wan, shelf, Shaggy Wan Reef. Okay, and there's several Shaggy Wan Reefs. So it says Shaggy Wan Reef, Shaggy Wan Rock. So I'm looking for Shaggy Wan Reef. So that's on page 140. So again, I'm going to turn to page 140. I'm going to find Shaggy Wan Reef. Okay, here it is, Shaggy Wan Reef. Broken ground with rocky bottom and boulders extending about 2 miles off the north and west of Montauk Point. Shaggy Wan Reef with a least down depth of 8 feet and marked by a lighted bell buoy at its northern limit. Okay, so a answer to that question is, what type of buoy marks the northern limit? It's a lighted bell buoy. Okay, so I'm going to select that answer. What is the elevation of the hills on Block Island? Well, Block Island's over here. This chart doesn't show us anything to do with elevation. It shows us the soundings, the depth of the water. It even shows us the bathymetry, the contours of the sea floor, but it doesn't show us anything topographical like elevation of Block Island. So what book could I find that information about in? I would guess the Coast Pilot. So I'm looking for Block Island in the index. Okay, and here's blank. So Block Island should be somewhere around here. Here I have Block Island. The chart number is 13217. Okay, that would be the best chart. All right, and information can be found on page 137. So again, I'm going to simply turn to page 137 and look for a description of Block Island. Here we have Block Island. What does it say? It says chart number Block Island. It says 0.5 of a mile long, or 5 miles long, is hilly with elevations up to about 200 feet. So there's the answer to my question. Okay, what is the elevation of the hills on Block Island? 200 feet. So now that you have a good idea of how to use the Coast Pilot, okay, you'll be able to answer questions in your chart plotting book for the final exam.